Hi everyone, today I'm here to talk about Working Stiff by Judy Melinek and TJ Mitchell. This book is about Judy Melenek's experience becoming a forensic pathologist and her first 2 years working in New York City. This book was amazing. Judy Melinek goes over so many different things and really shows you how autopsies are performed and what actually happens to a body as opposed to, what we see in television where it's kind of glamorous and then everything's solved and everything's figured out in like a day. So, which isn't true, it does not happen. So I really liked how this book was just honest. It's about what happens when our bodies are autopsied. And I really like that she went over different things like poisoning, stabbing, gunshot wounds. They're I don't know if you need trigger warnings because you can just skip the chapters, but there is a chapter on suicide and there was a chapter on 9/11. And the 9/11 chapter, honestly, that hit me the hardest. It was like she helped identify victims after the 9/11 attacks and the towers collapsed. And so that was a really hard chapter to read. I'm not usually affected by, dead bodies and people being autopsied, whether I'm reading about it or seeing it on TV. It doesn't usually bother me, but the 9/11 chapter, that was a little tough. So just a warning, if those bother you, you can skip those chapters if you decide to read it. Also, if you're squeamish and like blood and insides of people and talking about cutting up bodies for science grosses you out, I definitely wouldn't suggest this book. Like I said, I'm okay with it. I totally read this even while I was like eating breakfast and stuff. So I thought it was an amazing book and I absolutely loved it. And I would definitely suggest it. And I would also suggest it as a reference book if you are an author writing anything about murder, a murder mystery, whatever it might be. I would suggest Working Stiff because she describes everything so well and in a way that you can understand it. Just like the medical part, but also sometimes what bodies look like after a certain amount of time, what maggots do to bodies, things like that. So if you want it as a reference book, I would totally get it. I'm going to buy it, and I don't buy a lot of books now because I already have way too many and I need to get rid of some. But I'm gonna buy it as a reference book for my writing. So I think it's really good in that aspect as well. And it was like I said, very eye opening and about death and about life and how she's actually more comfortable and not afraid of death after working with the dead, and how a lot of her job actually involves working with the living as well and trying to help them, know what happened so they can process their grief and, help them through their loved one dying. And so I really liked that. I didn't want the book to end because I became attached to her and all her coworkers. I felt like I knew them, and it is a nonfiction book, so I knew they were real people. And like I didn't want to say goodbye to them, so I honestly put off reading the last chapter of the book because I didn't want to say goodbye to her and all the people she worked with, and it did make me a little sad when I was done with the book. And yeah, so it was really good. And I would definitely suggest it if you're not a squeamish person. So for today's random question, which has to do with the book Working Stiff, is what do I want to happen to my body when I die? I'm weird. I've always been fascinated with death, so I actually want my organs to be donated to science or to people who need them if they're still healthy. And then I actually want to be mummified. So maybe scientists could study that process of mummification. And I always thought mummies were cool, even as a kid. And then I want my mummified body to be brought to a body farm so that cadaver dogs can sniff it out, I guess. It's where they train cadaver dogs and study the process of decomposition at different stages, so to help like police officers and stuff. But in case there was ever a serial killer mummifying his victims, they could study that. And then After that, I kind of want to be displayed in a museum, either as a mummy or they can strip all my flesh away and just put my bones up. I don't care. But that's what I want to happen to my body when I'm dead. I want to be a mummy. And thank you for listening. If you like the video, please comment, like, and subscribe below. Comment about what you want to happen with your dead body too, if you want. And once again, this was Working Stiff by Judy Melinek and TJ Mitchell. I definitely suggest it.